So it's the open date, one of two, and it's the midpoint of the season, more importantly for this conversation. So today's Village Vice is going to be about midseason awards or midseason recognition, because as we go into this open date, 6 games down, 6 games to go. He's Zach Blackerby. I'm Brad Law. Thanks for watching Village Vice. Today's show is brought to you, as always, by mybookie.ag. They are still, cannot believe they're doing this, you still can take advantage of doubling your initial deposit when you use that promo code on the screen there at the bottom. Next round, all together, one word, next round, at mybookie.ag. Kick off your football season. If you haven't yet, you still got time. You can turn it around, just like Auburn can turn it around. You can turn around your football season with mybookie.ag.
Brad, it's been a roller coaster of the first half of the season.
Yeah.
And so, some of these kind of talking points that you queue up may be a little tricky to navigate, but I'm excited to see which direction we go.
Yeah. Well, like, just for reference, Auburn right now is 12th in the SEC in scoring offense. Scoring offense, 12th. They were much high. They were significantly higher than that before 13 at Georgia. They are 13th in total defense. No, 12th in total defense. 12th in scoring defense. Higher in plays. They're upper half in touchdowns scored. But just kind of for reference, they're not at the top really in any of these categories, top 3 or 4, and that's obviously where you want to be. I think they're 7th in total offense. They're 7th in I'm sorry, I read that wrong. They're toward the bottom in like rushing offense, rushing touchdowns, things like that. So clearly there's areas for, like, it's not all just turning the ball over. There are things they got to improve on in the second half of the season. With that said, Zach, who has been the steadiest performer, or who have been the steadiest players so far for this Auburn football team?
On offense, there's 2 that stand out. One is Jarquez Hunter. The other is Keandre Lambert-Smith at wide receiver. I think both of those guys have really stepped up any time that their number has been called. On the defensive side of the ball, the easy answer is Keldrick Falk. I mean, he's been steady every single game.
Yeah. Keandre Lambert-Smith, a little context on his numbers for the year. He had 7 catches for 95 yards against Georgia. He has 17 catches over the last 3 games. I mean, that's the epitome of consistency. That is emerging as a go-to receiver. That is, I mean, if you're going to get 6 catches a game for the rest of the year, that's great. He's at 510 yards right now. So dare we ask the question, does he get to 1,000?
I think he does. It's almost weird, though, because like I think it hurts his chances if the best case for Auburn happens, and like you see more Cam Coleman, you see more Perry Thompson, you see more some of these younger receivers, Malcolm Simmons, get the ball more. I think it does hurt KLS's chances. But if I had to guess right now, does KLS hit 1,000? I'll say that he does. Sure.
Okay. Yeah, I think so too, because I don't know necessarily. I don't think anything that happens this season in the passing game takes away his opportunities. I thought you were going to go.
Could this be a similar thing for when who was it in that terrible 2012 season? Was it?
It's Trey Mason.
That was Trey Mason, where he hit 1,000 in the Iron Bowl, and it's like, okay, like silver lining. Could we see something like that where KLS is Auburn's first 1,000-yard receiver in like 20 years? But Auburn goes like 4-8 or something like that. Like silver lining. Could it be a similar thing, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, both things, again, as we so often say, 2 things can be true at the same time. You can have a disappointing season, but have an individual accomplishment worth celebrating. I mean, the 99 team, Ronnie Daniels' 1,000-yard season in 99, that team didn't do anything special. That was Tuberville's first year. I don't even think, did they even go to a bowl game, or did they go 5-6?
Sure.
They didn't, that was nothing special, but the season was special for sure. So for Ronnie's season was special. So I don't know. I think if anything takes away Keandre's or Dre's opportunities, it's more carries for Jarquez. It's more of leaning on the running game. But I don't know necessarily anything happens in a receiving game to take away his touches.
Yeah, then I would also push back on that. I think if Auburn runs it more, I think it allows the pop plays to open up
Yeah.
because that's kind of what's been missing.
Yeah.
So, not that the pop plays are missing, but the threat of the run,
Right.
and Auburn being effective, and I think that would just help the RPO. I think it helps play action. So
Yeah. I
we'll
tend to
see.
agree.
We'll see.
I think up front, I think you look at Jeremiah Wright as one of Auburn's most consistent players.
That's a good
so
one.
far this year. They don't get a lot of talk up front. There's been a lot of attention paid to the tackles, and usually you pay attention to the areas that need the improvement. But the middle part of Auburn's offensive line, I think, has been consistent through the first half of the year.
I like that. Yeah, it's usually a good sign if we don't talk about you much as an offensive lineman. Jeremiah Wright has Auburn's highest pass blocking grade on the season, according to Pro Football Focus. One of the most involved players of the offense, playing 330 snaps on offense. And he's allowed just 4 pressures and over 200 pass blocking snaps. Like, it's pretty good. You take that.
I like him. And then defensively, Dorian Mausi, I think, probably gets a nod from me as one of the most consistent defensive players.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. I haven't been blown away every single game by Auburn's linebacker play.
Sure.
But in a situation going into the year where it was the discussion, narrative, storyline was Eugene Asante and then everybody else, I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's been the case. And I notice Mausi and Riddick more than any other linebacker as far as, when they make plays and, their presence around the football. So I'm not going to push back against that at all. I think Mausi's been fine.
He's had 8 tackles in 2 out of the last 3 games. He had 8 against Georgia and then had 8 against Arkansas as well. So he's there and really smart player, and kind of like the way he's come in and assimilated into the defense well.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
All right.
Who do you think is going to be like the breakout player from the first half of the season to the second half? Is there going to be anybody that takes this major leap from first half to second half?
Well, I think that gets into biggest surprises. And so let's talk about that after I tell our wonderful viewers, our villagers, about Roback.
Oh, please do.
Yeah. And a little bit of chill in the air now. If you got kids and they got softball, baseball, football games, soccer, stuff like that now, it's getting dark at 6:30. It's a little chilly. You need these Roback hoodies. I said it. You need them. All right.
It's not a want at this point. It's a need.
No, it's a need. There's really great stuff for men and women. Not too long from now, you're going to be buying gifts and wrapping them in that red and green paper, and so you need to take advantage of Roback.com, RHOBACK.com. Use our promo code Vice20. I'm sorry, Vice20 at checkout, and you will save not 10, not 15, but 20% off of everything at Roback.com. That's the polos, the hoodies, the quarter zips, the shorts, you name it. Just give them a shot. Take a look at the website, Roback.com, promo code Vice20.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Give me who takes a big step from the first half of the season to the second half of the season.
I think Caleb Harris is emerging as one of the leaders of the secondary.
Yeah.
Talking to coaches and watching the play on the field. He is physical. He comes from Thompson, where, you used to preparing at a very high level in addition to playing at a high level. So I like Caleb Harris as a surprise so far through the first half of the season, and a guy we will continue to see more of in the back half.
Yeah, Caleb Harris has blown me away. He's blown me away with everything that he's doing. It's not like he's just doing one thing well. It's not like he's just a run support safety or just kind of a speedster that's effective in coverage or a special teams guy. He's doing everything, and he's doing everything well. He's one of the most efficient tacklers on the team, which you don't usually see from freshman defensive backs. And then as far as, allowing catches in coverage, I mean, he's been thrown at 9 times as a true freshman and allowed just 21 yards on 33% of the time. So, I mean, that to me is effective. Allowing just 1 in every 3 passes thrown his way when he has a lot of field to cover as a middle of the field defender. And once again, as a true freshman, allowing just 21 yards in coverage on those attempts. Like, it's not like they see Caleb Harris, the true freshman, in the game, and they decide to go after him, and it works. So he's holding his own and excelling in several aspects of football.
Yeah, and shows and is starting again to show some vocal leadership, without kicking a football at the line of scrimmage before the next play. Like, he's out there showing how a safety leads with his play and vocally. So I expect we'll see more. His play will get a little louder in the second half. What about you?
I mean, I think Malcolm Simmons is a layup answer here. I think you see more of the running game as a whole, but as far as production from first half to second half, I'm going to say Cam Coleman here. We saw a lot of Cam Coleman early, and then, he missed a game with, just kind of, he was a little banged up. Yeah. We got the impression, though, it's like if it was a bigger game that they would use him. And so he just missed New Mexico, right?
Right.
I think you're going to see more Cam Coleman in the second half of the season. I think they're going to design more plays to him where he's the first look. And so, to me, I think Cam Coleman is going to be a guy that is going to have a big jump from first half to second half.
He has 3 catches this year of 40-plus yards. Awesome. 9 catches, and 3 of them are 40-plus yards. He had 3 catches against Oklahoma. There's not been a game where he's had more than 3. Yeah. So of the 6 remaining games, and he's coming off a 0-catch game against Georgia. So in how many of the 6 remaining games does he get 3 or more catches, in your opinion?
4.
Okay. Yeah. That would be more targets. That would be that probably puts him, he's got 212 yards right now. I think if with that kind of increased targeting, he probably ends up between 600 and 700 yards for the year, wouldn't you say?
I think 600 needs to be the goal for Cam Coleman at this point. Yeah. I think you need to show him that he's going to be part of the offense. I think some of it is confidence. He's had a few drops that, aren't great. And some of those drops have obviously turned into interceptions. So you've got to figure out how to get him more comfortable, how to get him more confident. I mean, all this talk is about 2025, like how good Auburn can be in 2025. Yeah. You need Cam Coleman to achieve the level of play that he is capable of, that we all are hoping that he can achieve. You need him to do that in order for all of these 2025 dreams to come to fruition. Yeah. And that has to be on your mind if you're this coaching staff. There's a real chance that Auburn doesn't make a bowl game. I know I'm stating the obvious here, but there's a real chance Auburn doesn't make a bowl game. And if you lose those practices, Brad, that's prime practice time where you focus on the future of your program and get these guys ready for spring so you get a lay of the land of what you've got. If Auburn doesn't get those practices because they aren't in a bowl game, I think that's valuable, especially when there's so many true freshmen here. And some of these guys you're playing, and some of them you're not. They're kind of in backup roles, and you want to give them a chance. Yeah. You've got to start focusing on these freshmen as much as you possibly can and find the proper balance. That's been something you and I have talked about for the last few weeks. Find that proper balance of prepare for the future and also give yourself the best chance to win every Saturday.
Yeah, you got to go 4-2 down the stretch. And against that schedule, that's a challenge. But
you could do it. They could do it. But you got to clean everything up, and you got to clean it up quick.
Yeah, that's why I would say the second open date, your strategy could look a lot different than this first open date.
Great point.
Yeah,
great point.
Depending on those results. So,
yep.
All right. What other surprises or guys? I mean, like Malik Blockton is a guy that I don't know that I expected him to start a handful of games this quickly.
Yeah.
Because of all the guys they brought in.
Yeah, I think that's twofold. I think we all expected Malik Blockton to be solid, But he's been great.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been great, not just in glimpses or bursts, but pretty consistently. And at times outside of Keldrick Falk, he's looked like our best defensive lineman, especially in the interior. So that's been a surprise. The other side of that, though, is like the guys that he's had to beat out, that bar has been a little bit lower than I think we kind of expected it to be. I think we all expected collectively more from the group of, you know, the Trill Carters and the Philip Bleedies and the Isaiah Rakes, and I'm missing one of the transfers, but maybe that's part of the problem. And so Keys, that's who I was missing. Yep. And so I think we expected more from those guys.
Yeah.
And I think it's a combination of Blockton being better than advertised, and also, like, I mean, some of these guys, I don't know. I don't want to say we whiffed on them in their evaluation, but they haven't panned out.
Yeah. So thankfully he has, you know, that's
no question.
Yeah.
No question.
I also think, and some of these guys we've talked about, just as we've talked about, like DeMarcus Riddick, I think you're going to see more of. I don't know if he's a surprise so far this season, but I think you're going to see more of him.
I'm surprised how long it took us to see him. Does that count?
I am too, a little bit.
I mean, he's been exceptional. He's been exceptional. And his snap count is continuing to go up. I mean, he played more than I realized against Georgia. I'm trying to pull up his snap count real quick, but I think it was in like the 50s against Georgia, 30s. So he played 11 against Alabama A&M, whatever, 8 against Arkansas, Oklahoma, where we're like, wow, 23 snaps. And then in Georgia, he played 36 snaps. I mean, it's trending up. It's trending in the direction that we all want to see.
So an average of 30 a game over the last 2, and he
I think higher. I think higher, Brad.
Yeah, he'll be 30 or more probably in all the games on the back half of the schedule. So,
I mean, if you're willing to play him for 36 snaps against Georgia,
right?
I can't imagine that number goes down moving forward.
I would agree. I'd agree. So more talk about these young people. You know, again, man, I know when you're making a long cross-country trip, I know it can get frustrating because it takes a long time to get there, but that's the journey that you're on.
Oh, this is an analogy. We're mid-analogy right now. Okay.
Yeah. If you're driving from Miami to Seattle, I know it's frustrating that it takes that long to get to Seattle, but try as best you can to stop and enjoy the scenery along the way. So with that said,
what's an example of some of the scenery you might see?
Well, I mean, you might stop in Nashville and, you know, hang out on Broadway for a little while on your journey. It's not your final destination, but you might hang out. You might pass by the St. Louis Arch.
Okay.
You could stop at the Grand Canyon.
Oh, okay.
There's plenty of stuff to see in this great nation of ours.
So on the analogy of driving from Miami to Seattle and stopping at the Grand Canyon, what is the Grand Canyon parallel to our reality? What finish that analogy for me, just so I fully understand.
Look, this is a 5,000 foot view analogy.
Got it.
Sorry.
Okay.
Or maybe it's not a long drive. Maybe it's a flight. Maybe it's a cross country flight. It's like 6 hours.
Okay.
And you're like, I know the destination's there and that's where I'm really going, but
sure,
you know, I can do things during the flight to occupy my time. I can watch a movie.
What's your go-to thing on a flight, Brad?
Sleep.
I've never been able to fall asleep on a plane. I hate it.
Really?
I wish I could.
I can sleep anywhere, anytime.
So I fall asleep. If I sit down on the couch for 3 minutes, I'm asleep.
I've fallen asleep on this show before and you didn't realize it.
I'm that boring.
No, it's not that.
Nope, that's fine.
It's that your voice is that relaxing.
Whew. All right. A lot of people listen and watch this while driving, so that's not good. That's not good, Brad. Okay. Hey, today's show is brought to you by The Barn, thebarnauburn.com. It's Auburn's newest message board. There's some Cruton chatter of stuff that could possibly happen as soon as this weekend, as well as speculations with key guys like Naeem Offord, as well as, several things going on. Look, if you're a member of The Barn, you knew about the Deuce Knight situation days, weeks in advance. So head over to thebarnauburn.com. The first month is just $1. Just $1. Go and check it out. Thebarnauburn.com. Time for our weekly 6-pack. Brad Law.
That's where we tell you who's going to win these games. And if you think we know what we're talking about, you might want to go to mybookie.ag and use that information.
All right.
If you think we're just a couple of bozos who don't know anything about anything, go to mybookie.ag and go to the opposite of what we
That's
say.
the opposite way. Yeah.
There you go.
If you're there to say, if you think we're morons, I dare you to do the opposite of what we say.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Let's go.
I really believe it.
Let's go.
Let's get it started with the Friday game. I love late games. 16th ranked Utah is at Arizona State. Utah 4.5-point favorite on the road.
In this loaded schedule, you picked that.
Yeah.
You picked a Friday game.
Yeah.
With how incredible Saturday's lineup is, you went with this. Okay.
Yeah. The spread's 4.5. You want me to pick a bunch of games with 20-point spreads?
I think some of them are more relevant. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to reference a couple of them.
I'm sure you are.
Yeah.
I'm sure you are.
All right. Fighting Kenny Dillingham's at home against 16th ranked Utah. Who you like?
Utah.
Okay. I like Arizona State. Kenny Dillingham and company moved to 5-1.
Tell you what, the Big 12 is super interesting right now already because there's no like clear winner. Texas Tech is the only 3-0 team right now.
Mm-hmm.
It gets even more interesting if Utah does lose on Friday.
I'm looking up the standings right now just to see how deep this goes.
I think there's 5 undefeated teams. Tech is 3-0, and then there's several 2-0 teams.
BYU, Iowa State, Colorado, West Virginia are all 2-0.
Yeah.
And then frankly, Arizona State could be 2-1. Kansas State could be, if Kansas State beats Colorado, now both those teams are 2-1.
Yeah.
Arizona's 1-1, UCF's 1-1, Cincy's 1-1. Yeah, it's pretty.
It's an even league for sure. And I mean, if BYU plays Arizona this week, right? Like that's going to be a fascinating. It's either this week or next week. Where like that is it's this week. Yeah, that's a fascinating game to me.
They're only a 4-point favorite at home in Provo. That's a little surprising.
Well, I mean, if you look at this Arizona team, it's almost like they play better away from home with what they did against Utah. So
it's a good point.
They went into Utah and just beat the crap out of them.
I'm telling you, when that offense is clicking.
Noah Fafita, man.
Yeah.
Noah Fafita.
Yeah, he's a special guy.
Noah Fafita. Yep.
All right, so that's the first game. See, you crapped all over my first game pick, and then it turns out to be a decent conversation.
But we didn't really talk about that game.
No, it's true. That's fair. All right, so let's get into the Saturday games now. We're not picking South Carolina, Alabama. Alabama's a 3-touchdown favorite.
Are we picking Arizona, BYU?
No.
See, glad I brought it up.
Me too. What I will say about South Carolina, Alabama is that, look, Alabama's going to win the game. If they don't win that game, they got massive Titanic.
God, wouldn't that be hilarious?
Problem. Yeah. But here's how you will know who's in control of the program. If Kalen DeBoer, I keep doing that.
I can't tell if that's a bit or if you're actually messing up. I can't tell.
That's the key, isn't it?
Yeah, you fooled me.
If their head coach wears a T-shirt, he's in control of the program. No, I'm serious. This is not a bit. I'm dead serious.
I mean, it does feel like he kind of got bullied a little bit.
If he's not wearing a T-shirt, he ain't in control over there. Somebody told him what to wear.
Yeah, when he came out to his press conference in a collared shirt, there were so many people like, yo, we bullied this man to change his shirt.
Sure. Sure. Look, he doesn't come out in the Cliff Huxtable sweater that their previous head coach used to wear. And he wears T-shirts to coach games. Whatever.
Which is fine. Who cares?
Right. I got to tell you, losing the game ain't got nothing to do with wearing a T-shirt or a collared shirt.
No.
But that's the only compelling thing about this game is what's the head coach wearing on the sideline?
Yeah, I mean, from a super zoomed out point of view, I agree. Like, there's been South Carolina's defensive line has been good this year. I want to see how Alabama's offensive line, is it actually a problem?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we'll learn more. I think we'll learn more about Alabama's offensive line, which from an Auburn point of view is going to be important with the Iron Bowl coming up. So
no, this game will never be close, but I'll be interested to see what that's like.
Yeah.
Okay, how about the Red River rivalry? Texas, Oklahoma. Texas 14.5-point favorite. And before everybody said, oh, this is an easy game for Texas. Easy game. Last year, Texas went into the game as a big favorite. Oklahoma beat them. Does it happen again?
Yeah. Texas has Georgia coming up, which is interesting. But yeah, give me the Longhorns.
Okay. I think so too. I think had they not lost this game last year, they'd be on upset alert more than in this game.
Yeah, they're going to be aware, no question.
Yeah.
I also am like still not sold on Oklahoma. Like those injuries are a problem.
Yeah.
They just haven't really played a team that, other than Tennessee exposed them. So
if Texas hadn't been off last week too, then I also might think, because Oklahoma with the off week, they could throw in some new stuff. But because both of them were off, I'll go Texas here too.
Yep.
How about number 4, Penn State at USC? Does Penn State stay undefeated? They're a 4-point favorite going on the road.
I think this line has had some movement in favor of Penn State, and I agree with it. I think Penn State is a significantly better football team. I know everybody wants to poop on Penn State and James Franklin, but
yeah,
I think this is legitimately a really, really good football team. And the whole knock about them not being able to win the big game and beat Ohio State and Michigan, it's like, well, during that span, nobody else really did either.
Right.
So they're probably the program that benefits the most from a 12-team playoff because they're just outside of it every year due to the nature of their schedule. This is a big game. Like this is a big game for both of these teams.
Yeah.
And I think Penn State's talent, and I just think they're a better coach team. Yeah, give me the Nittany Lions in this one.
I like that we differ on this. USC is 3-2. They would fall to 500. They would fall to 1-3 in the Big Ten if they lose this game.
It's a big deal.
I like them at home. Here's what else I like about them. Penn State's schedule so far. All right. They beat West Virginia, whatever. Beat Bowling Green by 7. Beat Illinois, but only scored 21 points. Beat UCLA and only scored 27. And UCLA is bad. Have we seen UCLA? They're bad.
I don't know if I've watched UCLA this year. I'm going to be honest with you.
They scored 56 on Kent State, but like Kent State they are the only team in FBS football that has not led at any point this year. They're like the bad of bad.
Got it.
I don't think they've played anybody nearly as good as USC. And so I'll take USC.
Okay.
I'll go with the Trojans at home.
All right.
Moving on in the Village Vice 6-pack. Up next, stay in the Big Ten, number 2 versus number 3 in Eugene. Ohio State and Oregon Buckeyes are 3-point favorites.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of wild how little this game is being discussed,
isn't it?
Nationally. It's like 2 versus 3. Like, what else do you want? I've got a weird feeling about this one, and I can't talk myself out of picking Oregon.
Yeah,
I've tried. I just can't do it.
But Ohio State is the super team, Zach. They went out and spent all that NIL money, and they're
yeah. And if this game's played in Columbus on a neutral site, I think so. The issue is, and the thing I can't shake is like, I don't think Ryan Day's a good coach. I don't. And I think when it comes down to it, when you're like, I think Ohio State's the more talented team when you look strictly at the roster. But I mean, gosh, it sounds like we're talking about an Auburn game here. But it's like if you can't be as crisp as the other team, and I think Oregon got off to a slow start, and they've really cleaned it up.
Yeah,
I think the Ducks win in Eugene.
Ohio State is like the GoBots. Do you remember the GoBots from the 80s? They were like the knockoff Transformers, but they were what it is you'd put several cars together to form the super robot.
Got it. As like a Megazord from Power Rangers.
Yeah, kinda.
Okay.
Kinda, yeah. So that's when I think Ohio State, that's what I think. This amalgamation of talent like the GoBots. And I don't know. I don't think that always works. So I like
this is one of the biggest games in the last 5 years of college football that doesn't mean anything.
Well, that's the playoff, isn't it? That's
because they're both playoff teams.
Yeah. And Alabama, Georgia, you kind of had the same thought.
Mm-hmm.
Until Alabama lost. And now you're like, well, they could lose 2 or 3 more. And that's a separate conversation.
Yep.
How about Ole Miss and LSU? Ole Miss a 3.5-point favorite at LSU. LSU, one of 3 remaining unbeaten teams in league play.
Is it dramatic to say that the outcome of this game, the level of power in the SEC will be influenced by this game? As far as, both of these teams trying to be in that top tier, they're just outside of it. Like it's Alabama and Georgia and Texas. And then that next tier, Ole Miss and LSU are desperately trying to prove that they belong at the top of that tier. And one of them's not going to after this game. And both of these head coaches are labeled as coaches that can't win a big game. And one of them's going to win this big game. And it's going to be fun to see. Give me Ole Miss.
One of them has won more bigger games than the other. Brian Kelly's track record is better than Lane Kiffin's for sure. And I like his offense. I don't know if they can get – I'd pick the over probably in this game. If Ole Miss doesn't win this game, they don't go to the playoff.
No, because they got Georgia coming up.
Right. And they got to go to Norman, I think, too, and play Oklahoma, which is not just a giveaway. It's not a gimme game. They host that, actually, not go to Oklahoma, but whatever.
Which one are you picking?
I'm
taking LSU?
Like LSU. Yeah.
I'm pulling for LSU, but I'm picking Ole Miss.
Understood. How about Kansas State, Colorado to wrap it up? Kansas State, a 4.5-point favorite.
We're picking Kansas State and Colorado?
Yeah, we're picking a Dion game because, listen, if Colorado wins this, then
no, they're back in it.
Prime starts 5-1. You just listen to all the national media then.
He's going to walk off the field doing a gator chomp. He wins this one.
That's right. Oh, Prime at Florida. Prime at Florida.
All for it.
That's so interesting. Can you imagine if Florida State doesn't fire Norvell and Florida gets rid of Napier and Prime goes to Florida?
Oh, my God.
And he's coaching every year against Florida State. So do they win the game or not?
I'm picking K-State.
Okay. K-State is so physical. Colorado's finesse. K-State's physical. I don't know if they're athletic enough. Give me the Buffs. I'll take Colorado.
I think it's good for college football if Colorado wins. 100%.
They're going to be back in the top 25 if they win the game.
Every time I watch K-State, I'm like, why is this team not ranked higher? Every time I watch them. I'm not confident there's 10 teams in college football better than K-State right now.
Ooh, okay.
I think they're good, Brad. I think they're a really good team.
They're solid. They're not sexy, but they're solid. Now they got thumped.
And they're consistent. And I just don't think consistency is a thing that we're really seeing a whole lot in college football this year. And I think there's value to that.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, they're 2-0 against ranked teams already. They got thumped at BYU. I mean, beat by 30 by BYU. BYU might be sleeping on BYU a little bit, potentially.
I won't push back on that. Won't push back on that at all. So Brad, I think is that it?
That's it. That's the six-pack.
That it? You're going to have us pick some Sun Belt game or anything? That's it?
You want to pick some high school games tomorrow night, Zach?
I think that does it for today's show.
It does. Thanks, everybody, for watching, for subscribing, liking the video, and for commenting. I'll read them all over the bye weekend. Remember, until next time, everyone has vices. Make sure Village Vice is one of yours.